Module Objective. This module provides an exhaustive analysis of the HIPAA breach notification rule, laying out the process, policies, and protocols for identifying, managing, documenting, and reporting data breaches involving PHI, protected health information, through a combination of regulatory interpretation, real-world breach scenarios, industry frameworks, NIST, ISO, and legal precedents. You will gain advanced competencies to create breach response programs that are not only HIPAA compliant, but also globally aligned and risk resilient. This module is vital for healthcare compliance officers, legal teams, IT security managers, executive leadership, privacy engineers, and third-party vendors handling PHI. Key learning outcomes. By the end of this module, you will be able to understand what constitutes a breach under HIPAA and how to assess it. Perform a multi-factor breach risk assessment. Follow mandated timelines and communication standards. Notify patients, HHS, and the media as required. Implement breach investigation, documentation, and mitigation procedures. Incorporate industry best practices for breach response. Align breach policies with ISO 27035, NIST 861, and GDPR Article 3334. Module content definition of a breach under HIPAA. 45 CFR FR 164 402. A breach is defined as the acquisition, access, use, or disclosure of unsecured PHI in a manner not permitted under the privacy rule that compromises the security or privacy of the PHI. Unless an exception applies, any impermissible use or disclosure of PHI is presumed to be a breach unless the covered entity or business associate demonstrates through a risk assessment that there is a low probability that the PHI has been compromised. Exceptions to breach definition. HIPAA outlines 3 exceptions where unauthorized access to PHI is not considered a breach. Unintentional acquisition or use of PHI by an authorized workforce member acting in good faith. Inadvertent disclosure between authorized individuals within the same organization. Unauthorized disclosures where the recipient is not expected to retain the information. These exceptions must still be evaluated and documented. Risk assessment framework. If an incident involving PHI occurs, the organization must conduct a risk assessment based on 4 key factors: the nature and extent of the PHI involved, e.g., sensitive health conditions, SSNs, financial data, the unauthorized person who used or received the PHI, whether the PHI was actually acquired or viewed, the extent to which the risk has been mitigated. The result must be documented to support a low probability finding if choosing not to notify. Timelines and reporting thresholds. A. Individual notification must be sent without unreasonable delay and no later than 60 calendar days after discovery. Written notice to the individual or next of kin by first-class mail or electronic notice if agreed. If contact info is outdated for 10+ individuals, website posting or major media required. B. Media notification for breaches involving 500+ individuals in a state or jurisdiction. Notify prominent media outlets within 60 days. C. HHS notification for 500 individuals. Notify HHS simultaneously with individual notice. For 500 individuals, notify HHS no later than 60 days after the end of the calendar year. D. Business associates must notify their covered entity of a breach within 60 days, but as soon as possible. Methods of notification. Written notices must include a brief description of what happened, description of PHI involved, steps individuals should take to protect themselves, what the entity is doing to investigate and mitigate contact procedures for further information. For large-scale breaches, 500 individuals, entities must post breach summaries on the HHS Wall of Shame. Breach documentation and audit preparedness. Covered entities and business associates must maintain records of all breaches, including investigation reports, risk assessment documentation, notification templates and timestamps, communications with HHS and affected parties, corrective action plans. Such records must be retained for 6 years and are subject to OCR audits and investigations. Real-world breach case studies Anthem Blue Cross, 2015. 78.8 million records breached, hackers exploited poor access controls, settled with OCR for 16 million. University of Rochester Medical Center, 2019. Unencrypted flash drive and laptop lost, fined $3 million. Primera Blue Cross, 2015. Malware-led breach affecting 10.4 million people. Inadequate risk management and audits, $6.85 million OCR settlement. These illustrate how technical gaps, delay in detection, and poor documentation can lead to massive financial and reputational damage. Alignment with other frameworks. Framework breach. Notification equivalent NIST. 861 Computer Security Incident Handling Guide, ISO IEC 27035, Information Security Incident Management, EU GDPR Article 3334. Notify DPA within 72 hours, and data subjects without undue delay. High-tech Act basis for HIPAA breach notification rule. A globally benchmarked breach program should accommodate multi-jurisdictional compliance responsibilities. Best practices for HIPAA breach response readiness. Maintain a HIPAA incident response plan, IRP. Conduct annual tabletop breach simulation exercises. Set up incident response teams. Legal, IT, compliance, PR. Use breach risk calculators and decision trees. Implement centralized breach management software. Coordinate with cyber insurance providers. Maintain up-to-date breach notification templates.